everybody. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Firebird Spirit and our gathering of compassionate souls. That's you. You're a compassionate soul, which is why you're here. And we are gathering from all around our global community of hope right now. Whether you're joining us from the warmth of summer or the beauty of winter in the Southern Hemisphere, we're grateful that you're here and you've chosen to spend a few minutes with us. During the month of August, those of you who've been here before will notice just a few slight changes. We want to need to give our wonderful volunteers and production team a little time off, a little time to themselves, a little extra rest while we gather in a slightly simpler way. Our time together will be a bit shorter than usual, but it will still carry the Firebird spirit of hope and compassion and authenticity that brings us together each week. So throughout this month, we're going to explore a series that's called The Spiritual Journey. We've kind of been leading up to that, those of you who've been with us throughout July. But as we were diving into that deeper, we realized that there's just a very simple idea that the sacred is always inviting us to become our more authentic selves. And that we can do that when we follow a really simple cycle of practices to deepen our connection to the Spirit. So we're going to take 5 different practices for the month of August, and we'll resume our regular gatherings in September. But through the month of August, each Sunday, each week, we'll focus on a different one of the aspects, a different practice to follow. And today we are beginning that, our first week, with our reflecting on feeling. What does it mean to feel something? How do we do it? How often do we stop ourselves from doing it? So as we begin, I'd like to invite you to just spend a couple of quiet moments with the centering meditation on your screen. There are no right or wrong answers to these. Just kind of notice what bubbles up for you. There's nothing you need to solve right now. Simply notice what is alive within you. What's alive within you? And after that, well, we'll begin by taking a moment to realign ourselves with the Spirit in prayer. All of us. This first part is aligning ourselves, settling in, and then we will reach out to each other because the Spirit connects us wherever or whenever we happen to be engaging it, like now. All right, so I'll see you in just a few moments. For right now, focus on this.
Jesus learned of John's death. He sought a quiet place, longing for stillness and time to grieve. But the people heard where he had gone, and they came out of their own need, hoping simply to be near him. Jesus saw them. His heart opened with compassion. His heart opened with grace. And from that place of deep love, he brought healing. He brought healing to all who had come.
The Spiritual Journey, Week 1, Feel. There's something beautifully honest about the way this month's journey begins. It's not with certainty, it's not with faith or courage, not even with love. It begins with feeling. Our scripture tells us that when Jesus learned of John's death, he went away by himself to a quiet place. Well, that makes perfect sense. John wasn't simply another preacher. He was family. He and Jesus were cousins of a sort, a companion to each other on the journey all their lifetimes. He was the one who had baptized Jesus, remember? The one who had pointed toward him and said, "He is the one." That was John. And now John is gone. Not peacefully either, not after a long life. He was vilified and executed because he spoke truth to power. What must that have felt like for Jesus, knowing that he was speaking truth to power too? Sadly, something we see all too often in our world, even today, isn't it? People being shut up because more powerful people don't like what they're saying. All of us have lost someone or someone close, someone significant at one time or another. We can relate to what Jesus was feeling. He receives the news, and his first response is not to preach. It's not to perform a miracle, those things we often think of him for. It wasn't even to reassure everyone that everything would be okay. He withdraws to be by himself. He makes space for his own grief. He honors his feelings, his human, very deeply human feelings. I find that so comforting, because so often we've been taught that spirituality means rising above our feelings, as though sadness is a lack of faith or anger is somehow unspiritual, as though grief is, something to get over as quickly as possible. But Jesus does not bypass his humanity. He enters it. He embraces it. He dives right in. And maybe that's where every authentic spiritual journey begins. Not by escaping our lives, but by fully inhabiting them. I think many of us spend enormous amounts of energy trying not to feel. We distract ourselves, we stay busy, we scroll on our phones. Sometimes we turn to other substances or behaviors that become addictive. We keep producing, we keep helping everyone else, anything to avoid sitting quietly with what is actually happening inside of us. I know I've done that at different times. It's still tempting sometimes when the feelings are so big and kind of overwhelming. Yet feelings are not the enemy. They're the messengers. I will say that I've learned in my life that feelings are not always accurate interpreters. They're not always accurately interpreting reality. My feelings have gotten hurt sometimes when that wasn't the intention, for instance. What I thought was a good thing has ended up hurting someone else. So the feelings are not good interpreters of reality, but they are faithful reporters of our experience. Our feelings are what they are. Neither good nor bad. The feelings just are. And let me say that again. Our feelings are not always accurate interpreters of reality, but they are faithful reporters of that reality. And ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. They don't go away. It only makes them speak more loudly. And sometimes they come out sideways at other people because they need to be heard. They need to be acknowledged. So while our feelings may be screaming at us, the sacred does the opposite. It often begins with a whisper. It was funny, I taught school for a number of years, mostly junior high, middle school age, but it works at all age levels. When the class is really loud and you want them to hear you, you don't raise your voice to shout over them. You get softer and softer until you're whispering. And the room will quiet because they all want to hear what you're saying. That is the sacred. The sacred begins with a whisper. And our bodies usually know things before our minds do. Have you noticed that? There's a reason we talk about having a lump in our throat, or butterflies in our stomach, or carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. Our lives are always speaking to us. The question is whether we're listening. Jesus was listening. He knew he needed solitude and silence. He needed space. And that wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. When we know ourselves and we know what we need, and then we move toward that, it's wisdom. But Jesus being Jesus, something unexpected happens and the crowd follows him. Imagine that for a moment. You know, you're grieving, you finally reached a quiet place you've been longing for, and there they are, and here they come, hundreds of people waiting, wanting something from him. I mean, it's the kind of interruption that many parents feel when they have small children who keep interrupting them in the bathroom. You're going to take a bath or something, and then your little ones are there and they want to play in the tub. Or when you just want to have a quiet moment to yourself. You hear, "Mom, Dad," from another room. "Where are you?" If we're honest, I think many of us might have pretended to not see them as if we were in Jesus' position. We might have pretended to not see the crowds. But he saw them. And his heart was moved with compassion. And notice what happened. His grief did not close his heart. It deepened it. It made him more sensitive to those people and their needs. Because he had allowed himself to feel his own pain, he was able to recognize theirs. I wonder sometimes whether compassion grows in exactly that way. Not by pretending we're fine, but by becoming so familiar with our own humanity, our own feelings, our own ways that we feel inadequate or that we've fallen short, that we begin to recognize it everywhere we look. And perhaps that's why the spiritual journey begins with feeling. Because people who are numb, and all of us know some people who are, they're numb to what goes on, they're oblivious, they just don't care, they really are just an entity unto themselves. Those people who are numb rarely become compassionate people. It can happen, but it takes a lot of work. I've known some who've been in therapy for decades to help nurture that because they didn't have it when they were young. And they become very compassionate people. Awareness comes first, and then compassion, and then action. And that's the rhythm, not the other way around. It's not action that leads to compassion that leads to awareness. They can backfill each other, but initially it's awareness. We have to be aware of ourselves and our own needs. So this week, perhaps the invitation is surprisingly simple. Don't try to fix everything, or even anything. Don't try to fix anything. Don't rush toward answers. Don't force yourself to feel differently than you do. Instead, just notice. Notice with curiosity, as one of my mentors says. What is asking for your attention? What emotion has been I don't know, patiently waiting for you to acknowledge it? Where is their grief or delight? Where is their longing or hope quietly trying to take root? The sacred has a remarkable habit of meeting us exactly where we are, not where we pretend to be, not where we think we ought to be, but right where we actually are, in this actual life, in this actual now moment. And the first step of every spiritual journey is simply this: to notice what is already alive within us, to feel it. Because once we do, the journey has already begun. Amen? Amen. So as we come to the close of our time together, I hope you'll carry one simple invitation with you this week. Notice your feelings. Notice what feels right and what doesn't. What feels in sync and what doesn't. Notice what stirs your heart and what brings you new life. Notice where compassion is growing and where it's quietly asking you to grow. Because every spiritual journey begins with paying attention to the feelings within us. If Firebird Spirit has become a place that helps you notice the sacred in everyday life, we invite you to become part of making that possible for others. Whether through your financial support, your prayers, or sharing these gatherings with a friend, subscribing below, or sharing us in your media feed, or simply by being present here each week, you are helping to create a community where people from all walks of life can discover that they belong. Just by being here, you send out those energies, and they are never wasted. You help others to realize that they too are part of our community of hope. Thank you for walking this journey with us. And until next time, God bless. Take care. Make time for your feelings. And bye for now.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is a production of Firebird Spirit, a global community of hope where the sacred meets the real. You can find our weekly gathering videos on YouTube at Firebird Spirit Hope. Related reflection articles, resources, and our RSS feed are available at www.firebirdspirit.org. As you journey this next week, may you walk in hope, live with compassion, and continue growing in the Spirit. Until next time, God bless, take care, and bye for now.